I kind of think of Shelley as like the Justice League. Everyone talks about, Brindley Cannon, but they're kind of like the Justice League. They just have a nice set of characters that back them up.
When it comes to high school sports, East Idaho never gets its due.
I ran into Jeremy Hess, the AD of Grace Luther, and, he was just excited. And then, I'm just talking to him and he goes, we have 7 girls. So just amazing.
But the East Idaho Prepcast has changed that, covering the biggest sports stories from Salmon all the way down to Bear Lake.
And again, Grace is always that team just kind of lurking, like, yeah, there's Grace. They don't have social media, but you know what? They have footballs, they got grass, and they got pads, and they use all those very well.
It's the East Idaho Prepcast with Sean Kane on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome to another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down top stories from Districts 5 and 6 of Idaho High School athletics. This show is brought to you by Ideal, a state-sponsored tax advantage savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. With the rising costs of college, developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping families finance a college education. An Ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school apprenticeship, or even student loan repayments. For more information, go to idsavings.org. We're grateful for Ideal for sponsoring this show. My name is Joel Richardson. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this show so you and your friends know each and every week when we go live. We've been trying to go live on Monday evenings these days, as the guy who I'm about to bring in right now, Sean Kane, is busy these days. I'm busy those days, but Mondays, Sean, Monday nights, it's all East Idaho Prepcast, man.
You get a week and then you get a refresh. So, I mean, it's the best of both worlds. Start your week off with a little East Idaho sports, high school sports news, and all those good things that follow it. Yeah, that was a good lead in.
Well, thank you. Sean, I noticed you got a little beard going, a little mustache. You're looking a little more, grizzly than usual.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because it takes over a month for this to grow, and most people can do it overnight. So it might have been there for a while. We're just now noticing it on camera. I mean, if you want to see the full extent of my mustache, please like the YouTube channel as well, so you get the video. And we'll talk about it later, but Friday is mustache night at Century boys basketball. So, but I'll talk about that a little later. Just a little teaser.
I love it. Yeah, please do, Sean. That's great. And Sean, you kind of teased it. Be sure, folks, to like and subscribe, but also remember you can listen to this show wherever you download your podcasts, and you can also listen to it on IdahoSports.com. We have a place you go to your podcasts. You click on the Prepcasts, and there you can click on each episode from the East Idaho Prepcast. If you missed some episodes from last week or a month ago, you want to hear us make our terrible takes, and then you can go back and listen to those. But if you want to watch later, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, if you want to watch live like you are right now, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. But if you like and subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, you'll know when we're coming on each and every week. Sean, we're there for girls district tournament ball. It's exciting. Yeah, you got the sweatshirt going. It's
state hoodie time is what I like to call it. You get to go to state, you get the hoodie. You know what I'm saying? Every kid wants the hoodie at this time of year.
And I need to get myself one of those hoodies. I've never been on a championship team here in Idaho, but I need to find my way into one of those hoodies.
Well, Idaho Dairymen, if you make it to state, you get a free hoodie.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So somehow cool.
I had to pay for mine, but
yeah. Well, I got to get one off the black market or something, But okay. How many championships, Coach, did it take to get?
I only buy a sweatshirt when we win it, so.
Gotcha. So you have 30?
Just 9 sweatshirts. So, but I don't get a sweatshirt every time. It depends on the design. Sometimes the designs, I don't know, but the sweatshirts become a big deal. It's I think people are get a little more interested in the sweatshirt. I always tell the kids I'll keep the sweatshirts in the back of the car, and we'll get them at the end if we don't put it together. But sweatshirt's a big deal.
Right on. But yeah, it is that time of year to start prepping for not just district tournament play, but can you then get to state? And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. And we'll do our player of the week, team of the week as well. But first, Sean, I want to every week we've been trying to highlight some great initiatives, some really cool stories that are across East Idaho. We've had a number of kids go down with severe injuries. Some kids have go down with sickness, illness, and some of these teams also sponsoring and supporting fellow classmates who aren't on the basketball, football, whatever team, but they're still supporting them. We have one, and we want to talk about one tonight really quick before we go into sports. It's for Tanner Scoresby, Sean. And you know this kid. You've broadcasted some of his games for football, basketball, but Tanner's been going through some things with he had a mass around his lungs, and it sounds like he's starting to recover and do better. But he's been down at the Children's Hospital down in Salt Lake and going through treatments. And one of his teammates, Sean, or at least one of his friends, if not friend and teammate, made a cool banner, "Not today, cancer, not any day," hashtag T Strong, Tanner Strong.
Yeah.
A really cool thing that Thunder Ridge, the Thunder Ridge basketball team and student body are doing for Tanner Scoresby.
Yeah, Tanner Scoresby, football field, basketball field, a phenomenal athlete. Yeah, and I just kind of caught this, and he played his seniors. He's been playing his senior season of basketball as a senior, right? And then the night of the 29th, he played well, but Friday morning he woke up and didn't feel well, and the symptoms didn't go away, and they found a mass in his chest, and he had been playing, I guess, for a while with this, and now they're going to decide on treatment and stuff, but definitely something for us to everyone in East Idaho and Idaho in general can get behind and keep him in your thoughts and things like that for Tanner. But a great athlete, a great person of interest in East Idaho, and definitely everyone can root for him to be on the road to recovery or better or whatever it's going to take.
Yeah, definitely. And his parents created a Facebook page. If you just search Tanner Scoresby, you'll find that Facebook page, and it has updates there. Sean, one of the latest updates is that Tanner's he's had shortness of breath, not much other symptoms. They did an X-ray, but then they've been and there was that lump right close to his lung. So basically, he was playing with really only one lung. But they've gotten treatments, and they're pulling a bunch of that water out of that mass. And so far, Tanner's tired, but he's in good spirits. It's just uncomfortable having that that tube through his throat, I think, and having to get all that fluid out. So Tanner's in good spirits. He's doing better. But his parents have asked, good thoughts and prayers. If you can keep those coming towards Tanner and the Scoresby family, they would much appreciate that. But head over to Facebook, search Tanner Scoresby. You'll find the page. You'll find the hashtag #TStrong. And Sean, one last little bit about this. Tanner's teammates actually went down. It was his birthday the other day, I believe, if not Sunday, Saturday. They drove down to spend his birthday with him in the hospital.
It's awesome. That's awesome. It's the little things, it's just definitely the little things you want that help through those times. And that's amazing. And I can just, some other things that have happened throughout my career. It's just those little things where you just maybe send a video message or whatever, but for the team to go down and support him, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, totally. So good vibes, thoughts, and prayers to Tanner Scoresby, to his family, and hopefully he continues to recover well as he battles with this. And just really cool that his teammates are supporting him, and the student body supporting him so well. Sean, with that, let's go into our player of the week and team of the week. Our player of the week is going to come from Pocatello High School girls basketball. They've ended the season with 7 straight wins, beating teams by an average of 21 points, but it's all because of one player. And who is it, Sean? Our IdahoSports.com East Idaho Prepcast player of the week.
Now, I will preface this. I don't know if it's all because of one player, Joel. I think there might be some other players that
maybe,
but a big, huge, massive part of that pie would be Abby Lusk from Pocatello High School. I think we would be very remiss if we went all basketball season long and didn't highlight Abby Lusk as one of our players of the week. She's done phenomenal. The stats they have available don't have all the games, but she's averaging roughly 17, 18 points a game, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. And you got to think about this. There's a lot of games she doesn't maybe play the whole time because they're up by 20 points. So, like the minutes and the production are phenomenal right now. And, the Thunder, and we're going to go through this later. They got a good road to make it to state. And then I think whatever happens in that bracket is going to be really important to them, but they've got a team poised to do well. And a big part of that is Abby Lusk. Also Kenna Garza, a big part of that too, but Abby Lusk, the Scottie Pippen versatile. I will say, I was trying to say this is I always go, this is the best player in East Idaho. Well, we got a lot of great girls in East Idaho. I will say I feel like she's the most versatile player in the state that I've seen live. So there we go. Little asterisk, but her height, her length, I think the versatility of where she can play defense, putting her out on the perimeter to guard the guards or the 1s or 2s is her versatility is unreal. And then she rebounds, and you know what she does, Joel? She hits like jumpers, like mid-range J's. Yeah. Just pull it for a mid-range J. When do we see that?
No,
hardly ever.
Yeah. Yep. And so your comparison to Scottie Pippen, I think, is really good. And I totally agree. I was going to say her game fits so well with this Pocatello offense because they are both inside, outside, and they're okay exploiting the middle. And that's exactly what you're talking about. She does so good on those pull-up mid-range jumpers, but then she can also hit from 3, and she gets down low so well.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the difference for the Thunder is, can Lusk go inside, like get to the basket against other teams? I think that'll be important. I mean, I don't think if you're Pocatello, you're going to want to settle for jump shots all the time, but I would settle for an Abby Lusk jump shot. She does a really good job just kind of around the key, right? From the corners of the key, just inside that mid-range part. But it'll be really important with how versatile she is as they go forward with this season.
100%. Abby Lusk, congratulations on being the East Idaho Prepcast Team of the Week for this week. And remember, Sean, she's only a junior, so she has some time to get rid of the asterisk that we gave her and become potentially the best player in all of Idaho. Team of the Week, Sean, is going to come from a team that is 16-1 overall. They've won 10 in a row, and they're averaging 62 points per game. There aren't many teams who can do that, Sean. It's got to be the Snake River boys basketball team. My goodness, what a season they're having.
Yeah, I mean, it's we talk about them here and there, but they've just had a really good season. It's been a whole nother. It was a year ago, right, that they lost the game, basically.
Right.
And yeah, 16-1, 10 wins in a row. They averaged the 62 points. There's only 5 teams in 4A averaging that much. A couple in the 60 range, and then Bonners Ferry averaging 72, which is unreal if you really think about it. Averaging, there's 72 points a game. But I'm real excited to see the Snake River team go on and maybe potentially play Bonners Ferry. I know that our northern Idaho counterparts are too. But yeah, just continuing to add wins to Coach Combs. He's got 1 million wins and we're going for 1,000,001. But I mean, what a great. They're going to have to name the gym after them. And a lot of people talk about they've just had great teams. And a lot of people around the Horn would say this is one of the best teams they've ever had. They've got height. They can go inside. They got good guard play. They can flat out shoot the ball, make shots. And then they got guys dunking it. You don't see a ton of dunks in 4A, depending on who it is. But yeah, they got guys that can flat out play. So Snake River boys right now on fire. Look to probably finish the season without losing a game, in my best analysis, and then on to districts and see where they end up.
Yeah, and Sean, you mentioned it. They ended the season last year 23-3, 4-0 in conference play, but they haven't won a championship in over a decade. Their last championship was 2013. So, like you said, I think they're due, Sean. This might be Coach Coombs' best team yet. Maybe now's the time for Snake River to really make a push and win state. Of course, you got to get through districts first and get to that state championship game. But Yeah, I think a lot of us are hoping for that Snake River Bonners Ferry, and maybe this is finally Snake River's chance. Again, this may be his best team he's ever had, despite 500 plus wins and what 10 plus championships. The fact that this could be his best team is pretty cool, and so far so good.
Yeah, you got Spencer Anderson, 6'7" senior. You look at their team photo, and people are standing, kneeling, and he's not even in the picture because he's so tall. And then you got Bridget Howard, a sophomore. He's 6'9", sophomore. 6'9" sophomore Howard is. So they've got to have the most height in 4A basketball. I'm going to say it right now. Most height. Now, does height translate into wins? I mean, it doesn't hurt.
Right.
So, they only have a few guys that are under 6 foot, and they've got the height. They don't look like a 4A team or 3A, or how that's switched to a traditional look. I think any given night you could put Snake River in any classification, and they're going to compete with pretty much any team, I think, on any given night. That's how good I think they've been playing this year. And the record, their point differential, all these things show that. The data matches the size.
Yeah, totally. And, last year Teton got in their way, right? Snake River was number 1. Teton was 5, and Teton upset Snake River. One of the biggest upsets, I think, in last year's tournament across all classifications. Teton went on to be the runner-up. They lost to Bonners Ferry. So, yeah, can Snake River not get snake bit, so to speak, by Teton and get to that championship game against potentially another very good Bonners Ferry team. We'll see. But last year again, Snake River was the 1 seed. It was theirs for the taking, but they lost to a really good and a sneaky good Teton team. So definitely looking forward to see what Snake River boys do. 16-1, they've won 10 in a row, like you said, Sean. And very intrigued by how Snake River moves on at the end of the as they finish the season, as they do district play, and as they go into the state tournament. All right, Sean, with that speaking of brackets and potentially breaking brackets, that's the name of the show today.
Like Breaking Bad, get it?
Like exactly. Let's talk about each girls district tournament bracket. We're going to start from 1A and go all the way up to 6A. We'll try to we will hit each conference. Some conferences will take more time than others, and we'll try to get out of here within the hour. So, Sean, let's start with 1A Rocky Mountain Conference. I'll bring this up. You don't have to see, if you're watching the show on YouTube or Facebook, Twitter, now you don't have to see our ugly mugs, and you can just look at the bracket. But, Sean, your bracket here: Rockland, North Gem, Leadore, Showband, Mackey, Grace Lutheran, Chalice, Taylor's Crossing. Of course, North Gem and Taylor's Crossing both got in the play-in game into this Rocky Mountain Conference District Tournament. Let's do your favorite and your dark horse. And if you have any other commentary, we can discuss that as well. But who's your favorite when you look at this bracket?
Well, can I say one thing first?
Sure.
You're gonna allow it because I'm gonna do it anyways.
Allowed.
How about the game between North Gem and Water Springs? 17 and 19 to 17. You just rarely see that. I think obviously Rocky Mountain, Rockland is the team to beat in this bracket. They've kind of had their dominance on it. Chalice also playing really well. But, if I'm going to give you a dark horse, I've been big on Leadore all year. I'm going to say Leadore is kind of there, but I like Mackey right now. I think Mackey's playing well. I see them doing some things that are good, and I like where they're on that third place or that third seed on that side of the bracket and maybe upsetting a Chalice. I think that potential Chalice Mackey game could be phenomenal on February 8th. And I would look maybe for a Mackey upset there.
I like it. Yeah, Rockland, I agree. Rockland is my number one. They're my favorite. Sean, I got to see Chalice play Grace Lutheran last week, and fun game. Grace Lutheran gave them some things to think about, and Grace Lutheran came back in the final couple minutes, but eventually Chalice broke away and kept Grace Lutheran at bay. Ended up winning, I want to say, double-digit victory by the Chalice Lady Vikings. Chalice is good. They have speed. Their fundamentals are pretty solid. They can get out on the break, but they also have some tall girls down low that just gave Grace Lutheran fits. So I'm really curious about this Chalice team. They should beat Taylor's Crossing, but if they played Mackey or Grace Lutheran, I think they beat Grace Lutheran. But yeah, that Mackey game is going to be very interesting. I think Mackey matches up well with Chalice, but I would like to see Rockland Chalice in that final game. Chalice goes to state, Rockland goes to state, depending on, it doesn't matter who wins, although it will matter for state bracket seeding who wins. But I think I do want to see Chalice. I want to see the way they play. I want to see that at state and see how it matches up with some of those North Idaho teams, especially. But yeah, I agree Rockland, but I'm going to go with Chalice, as I know it's not really a dark horse because they're the second seed.
Wow, really
I know.
barn burner there.
Very exciting. But if Chalice, a dark horse in that, I could see them pushing Rockland for the Rocky Mountain Championship and then getting a better seed going into the district play.
Yeah, because you look at it, Ledor 7-2 in conference, Chalice 7-2 in conference, Mackey 7-2 in conference. So those three teams, have beat one another beat them. They've ended that way. The next closest team is Shoban at 5-4. So Ledor could be number 2. Mackey could be number 2. I'm guessing it was a point differential in games that led to that decision in the seeding. And, so any of those teams I think are really have a good potential. But again, Rockland, beating their, holding opponents to 26 and they're scoring 46. So 20 points right now, it's kind of theirs to win, I think, at this point.
Yeah, good call. All right, let's go. Unless you have anything else, let's go into 2A High Desert Conference bracket, which, not as interesting maybe as 1A Rocky Mountain, as there's only 3 teams: Alturas, Prep, Grace, and Butte County. But I forgot to mention, Sean, for those who don't know, Rocky Mountain Conference, let's go back to it really fast. It's really you only get one loss. If you lose, you go to the left side of the bracket, the loser's bracket. You can win the loser's bracket, which is good, but it doesn't get you to state. The right side of the bracket is where you want to be. You got to win. There's no, it's not double elimination. Single elimination, you lose, you go to the left. You win, you stay on you go to the right. So for 2A, though, it is double elimination. Moving on all the way from 2 up all the way to 6. It's all double elimination. And here's where it gets interesting, Sean. We've talked about this both for girls and boys basketball. Okay, you got Alturas, Prep, Grace. Grace should win that game, and Butte County should win that game against Grace. But then you got to go back and beat them again, and it's hard. We don't care who it is. It's always hard to beat a team twice. Yeah,
and they split in the regular season too, right? So Butte County beat Grace the first time they played 48-40, right. But then in the last game of the season they lost to Grace 46-40 or 53. So it's 2 close games already in the regular season. It'll be really interesting to see, what's gonna happen, right? Are they gonna be able to match that? Does someone win? I think it's been Butte County's all season long until that close loss, January 30th to Grace. Now you kind of like creeped in. Maybe, Grace can win this. Either way, both teams playing really well. So, these are the games that, Grace and Butte always seem to be playing like at midnight. But luckily it's only a 5:30 start if the necessary game at Thunder Ridge. We'll keep Travis Hobson and get him in bed early that night.
Totally. And remember, Grace they were the 1A D1 winners last year for the whole thing. Grace came in as the number 1 seed. They defeated Rimrock, Prairie, Lapway for that champion, for the 1A D1 championship. So some of those players played on that team last year, so that you have that experience there. But can they upend the number 1 seed Butte County in this district tournament play to even get to that to get to state? But as you see, folks, on the bracket, even if you win both games, you go and play the state play-in game. And so second place is fine, but you don't go to the playing game. First place is great, but you still got to go play-in, which is also difficult. Last year, Grace won their play-in game, and they ended up winning the whole thing. But again, it's just tough to be in these conferences where there aren't a lot of teams. And so, like we say for football, it's unfortunate, but you have to win your games.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go into 3A, SEIC. We'll start the Southeast Idaho Conference in 3A. Sean, the favorite's got to be Malad. I'm guessing that's your favorite as well. But is that different?
Oh, no. Trevor Jones, the coach of Malad. We've been on a Malad train. I don't think there's any Knights that are going to slay this dragon in this bracket. But, both teams get two teams going to go from state. I would still like West Side to be that other team. I also find Wendell an interesting team entering this conference.
I agree.
A little wrinkle is a third seed, but Soda Springs has also went to state numerous times, has a good team as well. But yeah, definitely like Malad.
So you mentioned West Side, you mentioned Wendell. So who's your dark horse here?
I'm going to go Wendell.
Okay.
Well, maybe Wendell is the other team that makes it. I mean, I just really don't see the Dragons not coming away with this district title and a trip to state. And I mean, it's really hard for me to see that at this point. It doesn't mean it can't happen, right? I can be wrong, but I do kind of like Wendell. I like Wendell. I like Wendell to beat Aberdeen, and I like maybe Wendell getting the little upset in that Soda Springs game. And then they go to a playing game. So it could be pretty interesting. But yeah, if I had to go one dark horse, it'd be Wendell.
I like it. Yeah, and this is a fortunate for 3A Southeast Idaho because you get second, you go to state. You get third, you go to the playing game. So you have 3 opportunities to get to state, and so to speak. So yeah, I like Wendell, even if they lose to Soda, to have a chance to go play in that state playing game. And I think I could see Wendell. I could also see West Side or Declo getting to that state playing game as well if they don't get to that second place runner up to state, or that chance to play Soda, and then be the runner ups to state. All right, let's anything else with the Southeast Idaho Conference?
Nope.
Okay, let's move on to the Nuke, one of the best conferences and the most unpredictable conference in all of girls basketball here in East Idaho. And actually right now, Ryrie is beating Salmon by quite a bit. So they
won. They won.
Oh, won. Okay. Last I checked, it was third quarter. Okay. So Ryrie's gone 24. On. Nice. So Ryrie will play the winner of North Fremont and West J are going to play. Who knows who's going to win that game? Then Firth will play the winner of that one. And then Ryrie will play the winner of the Firth and North Fremont or West J team. Sean, who's your favorite and who's your dark horse here?
I'm gonna, I kind of, sorry, Matt Harris, but I was looking at this earlier today, and I like Firth. I think Firth is my favorite, even though they're the 2 seed. If we remember, that conference was all the teams had the same record, right?
Right.
And they went point differential. Matt Harris got back to me on that, but I do like Firth here. I feel like they've been playing well. In the end of the game or the end of the year, 11-9, 5-3 in conference. Ryrie ended up with a 6-2, but I don't know why. I like Firth. They ended the year. They just lost to South Fremont, which is a really good team, but they beat West J. They beat Ryrie. They beat North Fremont to end the year, and they've just got a good set of players. And this is a really young team too, with only 2 seniors. For Firth, and Janice Orison doing a good job with that team. And dark horse, I don't know if you have a dark horse, because you had Ryrie, Firth, and North Fremont all kind of in the same area. So maybe West J pulls up an upset somewhere here, but I like Firth.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because they're kind of all dark horses, right? Because they've all kind of beat up on each other. Again, it reminds me of the Pac-12, where the teams are just it's eating itself, right? And this new conference, on any given night, anyone can win. I'm kind of copying you, Sean, unfortunately, but that's just because we're so that's why we do this podcast together.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, I'm not sure with whether it's Ryrie or Firth. I can't make the call. You chose Firth. I'll go with Ryrie as the favorite, but I'm gonna have to agree with you. I think West J could do some damage here in this bracket, and I think they're peaking at a good time. Had a chance to broadcast with Coach Hadley, who helps with West J athletics. Super good dude, and he was cautiously optimistic about West J's basketball team, but so far they've done enough to we got to give them some love here. And I think like you said, I think West J is a good dark horse to pick here, a safe dark horse, if you will. But really, when you go 1 through 4, Ryrie, Firth, North Fremont, West J, any of these teams could win on any given night, which is why this new conference is so fun to follow. But Ryrie did win their first game, and I haven't heard any update from North Fremont West J game. So if anyone out there in Twitter, Facebook, YouTube land, if you know the score of North Fremont West J, please let us know. Hit us up, chime in live, and we'll get that information out to the rest of the audience out here tonight. Anything else from the new conference, Sean, you want to discuss?
No, I was just seeing if I could get an update on the game that's happening right now for North Fremont and West J, but is that Thunder Ridge?
Yep, it's at Thunder Ridge. Well,
okay,
and while you're looking at that, it is we got to note that last year North Fremont, they did go to state and had a decent showing there. Also, Bear Lake was in this classification last year, but Bear Lake jumped to 4A, right? And so North Fremont, they beat Melba as the 4th seed. They beat Grangeville. Grangeville was the 1 seed. Remember that game, 42-42, that put back. I think it was by Richardson, right? Josie Richardson put it back.
Yep.
But then they lost to Bear Lake 41-35. But North Fremont's star player, she would have been a senior this year. Again, Richardson, just unfortunate. I think she had a leg injury or a knee injury. But she's not playing this year in her senior year, but she's there on the bench supporting and doing everything she can to help the team. But North Fremont did go to state last year and made a great run. So watch out for them as they have a few players from last year on that team. But yeah, I'm going to go with West J like you, Sean, for our dark horse here. But for me, Ryrie is going to be the favorite. All right, 4A SCIC. Let's see what we got here. Speaking of Bear Lake, Sean, the number 1 team potentially in all 4A. There may be some North Idaho teams with something to say about that, but you got Bear Lake playing Snake River, AF playing MV. That's going to be an awesome matchup coming up tomorrow, and we go from there. So who do you got in this one?
I mean, what a surprise! American Falls and Marsh Valley playing again.
Right.
Didn't see that coming. Now we know, Snake River, the defending champs of what was 3A last year. They've,
Right.
lost a litany of players. It's a different team. I like Bear Lake to win this bracket. I find, who comes out of this American Falls, Marsh Valley scenario. I don't know. I kind of like Marsh Valley. I feel like they've played well at the end of the year. They got the 3 seed. But I feel like those games are going to be nutty, overtime, barn burners. And I feel like they'll play again, and it's going to be a very tough one in that second one, but I do like Bear Lake.
And I think this one, Sean, I was looking at the IHSAA rules, and it's showing this is 4A, right? 4A District 5. I think 1.5 bids go to state here. So even if you lose, you have a chance to get that playing game, and there's a chance that we send 2 Southeast Idaho Conference teams to state. So that's good for this conference. Yeah, I like Bear Lake and one of these American Falls Marsh Valley teams. Man, that one's tough. I'm going to go with I think I'm going to go with Marsh Valley. They had some
copying me again. Wow.
I know they had some good vibes going in with that kind of all, what was it, the
all team. They had all the girls,
all century team, whatever.
The legends of the game.
Yeah, and an all-time coach so I really like Marsh Valley, but man, I would not be surprised at all if American Falls pushes Marsh Valley, and maybe gives Bear Lake a run. But yeah, it's going to be Bear Lake is my one, and then Marsh Valley also my dark horse. But again, 1.5 bids to state. So if you lose that championship game for this bracket, you can go to the state play-in game. All right, Mount Rivers Conference, another one of these kind of like similar to 2A High Desert Conference. There's just 3 teams, but these 3 teams, Sean, maybe South Fremont Sugar Salem has kind of distanced themselves from Teton, but also any of these 3 teams can win on any given night.
Yeah, and you prefaced the last bracket with Bear Lake maybe the best team in 4A, and I was going to go, hold on, Joel.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Sugar
Salem might have something to say about that. And they played November 21st, Sugar Salem and Bear Lake, and Sugar Salem won 36-32, and that is about the closest anyone got to Sugar maybe ever this year. And they beat them twice, but that first game was really close, and then Sugar has done nothing but win by 20 points basically since that every game going forward. They even beat a Blackfoot team at their own tournament 53-36.
Right.
They beat Butte County, which we all know is a good team, 63-26. So this Sugar team is unreal. They beat a Shelley team that we just covered, upper division 5A, 67-50. But that Bear Lake is the closest team to ever get to them. So I like Sugar. Mountain Rivers Conference, toughest conference in girls basketball 4A, I think hands down. I don't know, you can argue. You have 3 teams that have unreal records. And like you said, I think South Fremont has distanced themselves a little bit, but you just can't, Teton, they've got some people back, obviously not all their star players from last year, but yeah, I don't know, can you really count out this Teton team not getting an upset here, where I think Sugar's the favorite? Who wins between Teton and South Fremont is unreal, but I also think South Fremont, they get everyone going on one night, and they haven't had great luck against Sugar, but they've got just a great team. They've got all these great seniors that have come back, and Brianne Bailey is one that's I remember who's played really well. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Sugar is obviously the favorite record point differential statistically, but when you have these 3 teams, we've seen it time and time again. A team that you might not think wins it, like Teton boys soccer being Sugar, the undefeated number 1 ranked team in max preps and boys soccer, but Teton beat them. So would I be surprised if someone else comes out of here? No, but right now I like Sugar.
Yeah, I totally agree. South Fremont, I don't think Teton overtakes South Fremont. I think South Fremont Sugar go on to both district to state and then the state play-in game, especially because South Fremont has so many seniors. They're a very senior heavy team. And so I think if South Fremont wants to make a run, this is their chance to do so. And I think also, and Frank, and as a matter of fact, South Fremont is playing Teton right now at South Fremont. I'm curious how that game goes, because their first game against each other, it was a little bit close. It was an 8-point game, but their second game at Teton, South Fremont ran away with it 53-39. So I'm curious how Teton plays against South Fremont this game. Maybe South Fremont rests some starters. Maybe they don't play as hard. Maybe they pull back a little bit, and Teton gets some momentum going into this district tournament play. But they're playing tonight. Oh, Sean, I'm sorry. Their first game is happening right now. I totally missed that. So their first district game is actually happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's at South Fremont. So, okay, never mind. But they will play each other again. So in this first game, of this district tournament play, can Teton make a run at South Fremont? And then South Fremont probably loses to Sugar Salem, and they play each other once again, and maybe Teton has some momentum. And look, it's high school basketball. You referenced this earlier, but you never know what – someone may have just broken up with someone, right?
Wow, Valentine's Day coming up.
Valentine's Day, right? And there's a lot of pressure for these kids to make that card for that,
well,
that rush, and then also come out and play ball.
Yeah, and I mean the pressure's on. What happens when you don't lose a game? That puts the pressure on you, right? Sugar Salem 21-0. They haven't lost a game, so there's a lot of pressure. They've seen the things happen. We talked to, Coach about that. She even talked about the boys, right? Crystal told us they talked about that. They know this pressure of this is coming, and just because you've beaten a team, it doesn't matter. And you're going to have to beat a team twice.
Yep.
No matter what. And I dislike these kind of brackets to the fullest extent. Personally, I don't like how that works. I feel like if you play a team so many times, there's a chance, right, that you could just get one, and that really changes the course of what can happen. And maybe you don't get the best team, but you get the team that just won that game, which that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, I think the pressure, to continue to win is there, but the Diggers have handled it. They have not dug themselves into any holes.
Perfect. All right, man. Let's go to 5A SEIC. And let's look at another small bracket, one that you do not like, right?
I do not like these.
I do not like these, Sean. He is. But yeah, Preston Century playing tomorrow, 7:00 at Preston. And then the winner of that plays Pocatello, and so on and so forth. Sean, here, the favorite's Pocatello. I don't know if there's many notes here, man.
No, there's not. And,
okay.
Preston had people back from injuries. They're playing better. They just don't have enough to beat Pocatello. Century, two of their best players are injured. They didn't have a deep bench at all. So they don't even have a full complement of their players. Maya Marshall, their big, broke her arm, so she's out for the season. Mia Chavez was hurt. I don't know if she'll be back for this game tomorrow. But with, neither of these teams have a deep bench, and I don't see them taking out Pocatello, and and right now, Pocatello, it's just a tale of two different stories, right? Pocatello's poised to win a state championship. Preston Century are building teams to get back there. It wasn't too long ago Century was there in a bunch of state championship games, and you have those years and flows, and it's just a tale of two. Preston and Century in the same kind of boat. Pocatello's in a boat that's already crossed.
Yeah, I think that's really good metaphor there, Sean. But yeah, Pocatello definitely the favorite, and they're a favorite to win state. Before we move on to the High Country Conference, Sean, which will have notes. Let's remember our podcast sponsor, Ideal, which is a state-sponsored tax advantage savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. With the rising cost of college, developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping families finance a college education. An Ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school, apprenticeship, or even those darn student loan repayments. For more information, go to idsavings.org and start your Ideal 529 account plan today. All right, let's go into some notes. High Country Conference 5A. Sean, the other day, Skyline lost to Blackfoot. Skyline's the 1 seed, Blackfoot's the 2. Then you got Hillcrest 3, Shelley 4, Bonneville 5, Idaho Falls 5, Bonneville 6. Skyline lost to Blackfoot. I got a chat. I texted Coach Keck really quick earlier today. Hey, Coach, any notes on Blackfoot? And he said Addie Tanner played out of her mind. But like they struggled. And he said they struggled, but in the end, Addie Tanner had a really great game, and they didn't. Skyline didn't. So very interesting how that's going to look. Again, this is a double elimination. Runner up goes to state, but who's your favorite in this one?
Oh, my favorite. I think two teams will make it to state from this bracket, Joel.
That's deep analysis.
Well, I'm gonna start on the first round matchups. If I had to go dark horse of two teams making it and one not being Skyline or Blackfoot, I would go Hillcrest as the dark horse. But on a note, Idaho Falls played, and I watched this game, played Pocatello, and they were leading most of that game. and ended up losing to Pocatello 58-66, which I just felt it was very intriguing that Idaho Falls had that kind of deep presence against the Thunder. Now, does that mean anything? I don't know, but Idaho Falls has played Skyline really close to 62-65. So where I think Hillcrest is my dark horse to maybe still a ticket to state, I wouldn't be surprised if Idaho Falls is in the mix somewhere here towards the end. But my favorite, I just kind of look at Blackfoot as like a wave, right? Their wave was really good. They played really well at the start. The wave kind of died out.
Yeah.
And they had some ruffles, and then they're kind of back at the top of the wave again, and they might be the team playing the best. And for Skyline, they've won a lot of close games against teams that could that they're going to potentially play here. And I don't know what that means as far as, is it close just because of that, what's what happened, or does Skyline have enough to take it across the finish line? And I think they do, but can they beat one of these teams twice? I don't know. Who can win 2 games really is what it comes down to. And I think Blackfoot might be the team equipped to win 2 games in a row. But Skyline, they're the 1 seed, and they are until they're not.
Yeah. I think in these close games, I think size is going to matter. I think when it gets really rough, you're going to need rebounding and you're going to need defense. I know that's kind of typical to say.
I like it.
Yeah, but you got to have defensive rebounding, and Shea Shippen for Skyline does a lot of that for Skyline. But that's when they've gotten in trouble, when we've watched these Skyline games, right? They lose some of the height, and their defense down low is not great. And man, Shea, again, Columbia bound, amazing player, but you got to give her some help, and she's got players for sure around her. That's why they're number 1 seed. That's why they're so good this year. But I'm curious how it's going to look as they go deep into the district play, and then if they get to state, which I think they will. Like you said, they're number 1 until they're not, right? But I'm curious how defense and rebounding will work either for them or against them as they play Blackfoot potentially once again, as they play Hillcrest potentially once again. Hillcrest has size, Blackfoot has more size. So I'm gonna, at the same time, I'm all about having the superstar, right? The superstar will win you games. When Shea is on, Skyline does so well. If she hits a couple threes, because she's not a great 3-point shooter, watch out, right? And so if you have that D1 bound player, you're going to win a lot of games. So I think my favorite is still Skyline. It's not a dark horse, but Blackfoot, I could see Blackfoot beating Skyline and sending Skyline down to the losers bracket. And then Skyline has to beat Hillcrest, which that's going to be a very interesting matchup because Hillcrest is peaking at the right time, as we discussed earlier, as we were talking offline. So I know it's total cop out. I have no idea. But I think you got to give Skyline the nod, as I've seen them play Blackfoot twice in the last 2 years. Even though they lost to Blackfoot the other night, Blackfoot had a great game plan, says Coach Keck, and Addie Tanner played really well, which she can do that again, and Blackfoot can come in with a great game plan again. But I think Skyline with their star D1 player, I got to give them a nudge. And then after that, I want to say Blackfoot defeats Hillcrest. So there's no dark horse in my mind, but I will not be surprised if at the end of the day it's Blackfoot as the champion to state and Skyline as the runner-up. Nor would I be surprised if it's Blackfoot to state and Hillcrest as, like you said, the runner-up to state. There's just too much here. I don't love Idaho Falls. I'm going to have to, I apologize to all the Idaho Falls Tigers fans out there. I don't think they have enough, both that height and the defense and the all-star player. And Bonneville, they're in a rebuilding year this year. But I don't know what any you want to make fun of, you want to criticize any of those takes?
Well, what I was thinking about when you're talking about that, and we had Ramey Odom on the show, Blackfoot's head coach, and
yeah,
great Blackfoot coach. They got left out last year, right? Skyline beat them, or they upset Skyline, then Skyline beat them to go to state, right? So I think Blackfoot to go to state is probably the hungriest team to make it to state. Skyline seems to always make it to state, always I think does better than what you would imagine at state. So I think Blackfoot's the hungriest. I feel like if Blackfoot wins out, if they win and then they win the championship, I think that's good. I think Skyline, if Skyline drops down and has to win out through the losers bracket, I think it's harder for them than maybe Blackfoot is what the point I was trying to get at. I think Skyline needs to win out. I think it'll be harder for Skyline to drop down and beat these teams again. For Blackfoot, I feel like even if they lose to Skyline and have to drop down, I think they've had to do that the past few years and know what it takes and are prepared just to get their ticket punched, right? So I feel like Skyline needs to win out, but if they don't, I think they have a harder road. That's my analysis.
Yeah, I like it. Looking at, I got to put my money where my mouth was. Opponents scoring on Skyline, Sean, they're scoring about 50 points a game on Skyline. Blackfoot, it's 38. Hillcrest, it's 44. Shelley, it's 52. And so talking about defense and rebounding, if Skyline isn't careful, yeah, I'm agreeing with you in that Blackfoot and Hillcrest could push Skyline, potentially knocking Skyline off if Skyline isn't careful with that defense. Just looking at the averages, I was curious about their defense, their averages on defense. They have a great defensive. He calls them panic and chaos. I know one of them was Maddie Merslock, and I can't remember. It was Muir, I think, Abby Muir, maybe. But so a great defensive front. But again, I'm just concerned down low, all the second chance opportunities that Hillcrest and Blackfoot can get. So if you can't tell, Sean and I, we can't wait for this one, right? First games are tomorrow. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And I think that's what I was getting at. Skyline has let teams play them a lot closer, but then you have a Shea Shippen to close the door, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And now, if Tanner is the person that closed the door for Blackfoot and they play that defense and keep teams under that 40-point mark, I bet you they haven't lost many games when they've held opponents under 40 points this year. So that's where I'm kind of leaning. Blackfoot is equipped to win games if they don't win it out. And Skyline, if they drop down as the overall favorite, and they allow teams to score, I think it's harder for them. But I mean, who knows? We could be totally wrong.
and you know what? If we are, we'll totally eat it. But folks, if you have a comment, if you want to criticize or agree with our takes
tell us
here,
we're wrong.
let us know in the comments section. We'll put your comment on here as long as it's appropriate, right? And we'd love to hear what you think about this bracket and all the other brackets we've discussed tonight. All right, Sean. Speaking of all the brackets we've discussed tonight, we got one more bracket, and then we'll go into some boys games and get out of here. 6A High Country Conference, another close one for we call it District 4, 5, and 6 High Country Conference because now you got Canyon Ridge and then also, of course, the typical Rigby, Thunder Ridge, Highland, Madison. But this one is also, you never know on any given night. Maybe not Canyon Ridge may not be part of that tight race, but man, any of these teams, especially Rigby, Madison, you just don't know. And this one, it's got that funky. You and I have talked about this before, right? It has that funky, where the 2 seed doesn't play a game until after the 1 and 5 seed play. So before, let's just repeat. So, because a lot of people haven't heard most of our conversations. Do you like this bracket the way it's constructed?
This one reminds me of a volleyball bracket, or where the 1 seed plays,
right?
But the 2 seed doesn't play. A lot of volleyball brackets are like this, and I don't know. And when I was looking at this earlier today, all I kept thinking is, did Madison know what they were doing?
Right?
I feel like you've got. They're going to have a bunch more days to rest. And it's been a long season, and we just saw Madison play against Shelley. They didn't look tired, but I'm just saying you've got days to prepare and rest, and idle hands sometimes are bad. Some people want to play a game, but I like that. I like that they don't have to play a game. They're just going to sit back and watch all this.
Yeah.
And Rigby definitely is the team playing the best in the conference, but like not overwhelmingly like Rigby's going to win this. But I just kind of, when I see how the bracket panned out, I'm like, did Madison kind of have a strategic plan here? But
right.
I don't know. Thunder Ridge also playing really well. But Madison's going to get that home game, and I like where they're at. I still think Madison and Rigby are the two teams that'll make it. This conference takes two teams, but does Thunder Ridge spoil something along the way?
Great point. I don't think Madison was like, let's put our tinfoil hats on, right, Sean?
Yeah.
But now I'm going to take it off and say I don't think Madison was planning it. However, as they're watching the season go and they knew their bracket, how it's constructed, I don't think they were losing sleep on being the 2 seed. Because like you said, it gives you a chance to watch these teams play, including Rigby, gives you a little bit more film, a little more energy. Now the flip side, and we've all heard this, if you listen to any kind of sports, sports shows, when you don't play, you might come in a little rusty, right?
Yeah.
And if you've already played a game, you got those jitters out and you're ready to go. But then also that's one more game to get injured, one more game to maybe lose some cardio or some conditioning. So it's all very interesting. There's takes either way on whether it's good or bad. But I think I would rather get a game under my belt if I'm that number 1 seed. I'm okay with this bracket. I'm okay.
But you're waiting for so long though. Ricky's going to play the 4th, and then say Madison wins. They're not playing that game until 11th. So like Rigby does play, but the people that had just played on the 6th would be Madison. So I feel like just the scenario of, you don't play right away, but you play in between when Rigby played. Like, I feel like you have a better, you're not going to be sitting the whole time because you're playing on the 6th. And then Rigby's been sitting since the 4th, if that's what happens. So
yeah,
that's why I find it interesting.
Okay. That's a good take. And look, if you are rusty because you haven't played, if you're Rigby and you haven't played for 7 days, then you lose. Okay, you lost to Madison. We're gonna go back there back down below, and we're gonna play game 7, right? And you have one more chance to get to state against a Highland or a Thunder Ridge. Do you have a dark horse here? We've talked Rigby, Madison, but do you have a dark horse besides maybe Madison to maybe upend Madison or Rigby?
I mean, just Thunder Ridge has gotten a few wins, right?
Yeah.
They had a real interesting loss to Rigby, 15-45. And then it was only a 2-point loss the next time. They did beat Madison 51-46, which that kind of glares out at me. So Thunder Ridge, Thunder Ridge almost beat Pocatello, which we know is a good team. Thunder Ridge, but then Thunder Ridge lost to Shelley.
Yep.
I don't know. I like my read on Thunder Ridge is poor, and that's my fault, I guess. I haven't seen enough of them, but they're what they've got for us to show us makes kind of head scratch. They've beaten Highland fairly easy both times. Actually, they have one more game tomorrow against Highland.
Yeah.
So that's a late game in the season. Most teams have wrapped up.
Well, that's that's actually a tournament.
Oh, the
game.
tournament. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Ugh.
Right. No, that's okay. I did the same thing. I was looking at their schedule and not looking at the tournament bracket. But let me help you a little bit here, Sean. That Thunder Ridge team that lost to Shelley played a Shelley team that was on fire from 3. And we've talked about that Shelley, and I don't mean to go backwards to district to 5A, but Shelley if Shelley gets hot, they're so good. And we saw that last week when Shelley played Madison. Madison, again, this number 2 team, but Shelley pushed Madison, and it was a 4-point game with a minute or 30 seconds left or something like that. It was a close game because Shelley got back with their scoring with a couple 3-pointers, a couple quick buckets. And suddenly it was a close game. So if Shelly's hitting, Shelly is so streaky. If Shelly is hitting their shots and they're on fire, watch out. But I think that's why they beat Thunder Ridge. I think Thunder Ridge beats Shelly 9 out of 10 times, maybe 7 out of 10 times, but they win more than they lose if they're playing Shelly. So maybe that helps you understand kind of where Thunder Ridge is at. Yeah, they've lost some kind of head scratchers, but at least one of those, Shelly was on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And in you go. And, I'm not going to go away from what I thought. I thought Madison's the best team in this conference. They lost to Rigby twice. So, Rigby proved me wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if Madison wins this district tournament. I feel like where they are in the bracket is going to be beneficial to them. And maybe I'm totally wrong, but that's my gut reaction right now.
I like it. And I'll give you some stats. Rigby's averaging 49, Madison 50. And those are pretty solid 49 and 50s. There's no like 49.6. You know what I mean? It's a pretty straight Rigby 49, Madison 50. But Rigby is keeping opponents to about 30 to almost a straight 39 points. And Madison also keeping their opponents to a pretty straight 41. So do what you will with those numbers. But yeah, I think it's so close between Madison and Rigby, but I give Rigby just the slight edge, but we keep saying it. Watch out, Madison could easily could win that because they're so close in offense and defense. That their point differential is so close. Sean, those are all the district tournament brackets for districts 5 and 6. In this case, 4, 5, and 6 for this conference, as well as the 3A Southeast Idaho Conference. Any other thoughts on any of these brackets? We already have games today, games tomorrow. We're moving, man.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I think the 5A District 6-1 is going to be probably the highest entertainment level if you want to go catch those games.
Yeah,
on my entertainment level. I think the Grace Butte County games are going to be. I think it's going to be interesting. I have a feeling they're going to need all the games to decide it. So those are kind of my takes there.
Okay, I'm going to go with the 3A Nuke Conference. I'm really interested in what happens there. I think that's going to be one of the most exciting ones to follow. And then I'm with you, 5A High Country, maybe followed closely by 6A High Country, districts 4, 5, and 6. Those, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to what the Nuke Conference does and who comes out as the top. The top seed going to state, and then who will be that second. So games have already started. More games tomorrow and throughout the rest of this week. It's going to be really exciting, super fun. District tournament play is so fun. A lot of heartbreaks as well, because this is your chance to go to state and get that sweatshirt. But great entertainment, great action. So thankful for all these athletes, coaches, players, teammates, parents. I meant to say parents, teammates who make this happen for our entertainment, frankly, right? They obviously have a great time, especially the players playing, coaches coaching. But it's really fun to follow and watch these girls and boys, in this case, the girls, show out, right? And finally show what they're made of, even as a 5-4 seed, taking on that 1-2 seed and seeing what they can do. It's a lot of fun, and Sean, it's our pleasure to talk about it, right? And hopefully bring some of these games on Idaho Sports, bring those games free and live. All right, Sean, let's finish up with some boys games. We've had some very interesting, intriguing matchups this week, all the way from 1A to, I want to say, 5A. We had Water Springs Garden Valley. That was a pretty crazy one. Wendell Malad, Declo Westside, Sugar Teton, Hillcrest Blackfoot, Century Highland. That one may have been the most exciting of the week. Let's pick two to talk about of all those I mentioned.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start with Water Springs Garden Valley because, we talked about Water Springs. We talked about this game coming up. So I kind of want to start there. And Water Springs took down Garden Valley, which has been ranked 5 or 6 in the rankings, 68-52. So a pretty good beatdown by Water Springs. And I found that pretty interesting, too, because it leads to a 3-way tie in the Rocky Mountain Conference. And I got a chance to talk to Coach Neal from Rockland. He's my insider in the 1A boys basketball. And it's great. And so I really appreciate him for getting to him. Like, how does that tiebreaker work, and he's told me it's going to be a point differential, and he said Rockland will be number 1, Water Springs 2, and Mackey 3, because they beat Mackey by 51. Rockland did, and he even said to me that Mackey beating Water Springs was a huge head scratcher, and Mackey's got some tall guys, so that was kind of the scenario there. Mackey's got one of the true big guys in 1A basketball, Kaiser Summers. Now listen to these stats. Kaiser Summers are averaging 20 points and 8 let's call it 9 rebounds and 1 block shot. He's shooting 46% from the field. So Kaiser Summers from Mackey, it sounded like they just really beat up Titus Driver down low, made it difficult in the paint area. And so you got two big guys playing in this 1A. You got some Shaquille O'Neal, some Tim Duncans, Keem Olajuwon's going on down low, and it's pretty interesting. But they made it uncomfortable, and Mackey came away with the win. So that's kind of where I want to start, and I think that's going to be a real interesting district tournament too. You got 3 teams playing very well. Rocky Mountain right now, the team to beat.
Yeah,
Rocky Mountain, and, Rockland.
Rockland. And then not to be outdone, but another big in this conference is that Garrett Grayson for Grace Lutheran. And that game was really close. And Grace Lutheran gave Chalice a run for their money. And if it hadn't been for a couple of turnovers down the stretch, when I say down the stretch, I mean in the last 30 seconds of the game, that was Grace Lutheran's game. They were up 4. So I'm really intrigued to see, well, you already said it, to see this district tournament in what is it? 3 weeks now, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I think Grace Lutheran coming in at 3-6, 8-6, they could push Chalice once again, Water Springs, Mackey, Rockland. If they get hot, if their shooting starts hitting, because that Garrett Grayson down low, another one of those Shaqs, Hakeem's, big dudes down low who man, he's good. And his footwork is really nice, which maybe the last few years wasn't as sharp. I think he's a junior, right, Sean? Garrett Grayson, junior. Does that
he might be a senior now. I remember him when he was like a freshman, and he was super tall coming off the bench, and now he's put on like 50, 70 pounds. He's a big dude. So you got all these big trees in the forest of the Rocky Mountain Conference. Some of them are going to get chopped down in the weeks to come, and we'll have to see what happens. But definitely interesting. But that's a good barometer of what I was trying to get at for the Rocky Mountain Conference. If Water Spring goes and dismantles this Garden Valley team, you've really got some of the top teams coming out of the Rocky Mountain Conference, and that would be a staple of it with that win from Water Springs.
Yeah, 100%. And Garrett, I did check. He is a junior.
Okay.
So yeah, he's got this year and then next. That game was close between Grace Lutheran and Chalice. Unfortunately, the following game they played Rockland at home again, but that one was much worse. They ended up losing, or Rockland ended up winning 67-23. So yeah, they struggled. They struggled in that one for sure. But those 3 teams, very intriguing. It's 3-way tie in the conference. Very excited to see what that 1A Rocky Mountain Conference does. Sean, what you were there, man, or you got video of what happened there?
I'm everywhere.
You really are. But before we hit Century Highland, because we got to talk about that one, and then we'll get out of here. Hillcrest, man, just like their football team, right, Sean? Struggled early on, and maybe not struggled, but played really good teams, and so it looked like they were struggling, but they're peaking at the right time, dismantling Blackfoot, who just like their football team has been surprisingly good in boys basketball. Hillcrest, though, just clobbers Blackfoot 77-45. So watch out, Hillcrest, an interesting one as they may be peaking at the right time.
Yeah, Hillcrest is a team, and I've seen them. If they can hit their shots, like if they start hitting 3-pointers, they're going to be dangerous. If I think back a few weeks in my mind, I feel like Preston is the team in 5A. But after seeing Hillcrest play, and I think they finally it's taken a longer time for maybe them to come together and play the way they want to play. New head coach, some of the same cast of characters, but you've got Isaac Davis, Ike Sutton are gone. Those are right. two names that we talked about for 4 years, right? And now you have Titan Larson, Sweetwood, Blakesley at the guard. So you've got just a different cast that maybe just took a little time. Titan Larson really being the only starter returning, and maybe just gel together. But everyone that goes out there can hit a three, and obviously they hit a bunch of shots. And the reports were saying that Hillcrest was playing just lights out. It wasn't Blackfoot played bad. You're just sometimes teams when they shoot that well, it's hard to beat them.
Yeah, and just look at their schedule for Hillcrest. They play Bonneville this Wednesday, Idaho Falls, Shelley, and they end at a game, not a conference game, but you is 6-2, Hillcrest 6-1. So if Bonneville beats Hillcrest, maybe there is the tiebreaker is going to be interesting how they break the tie. Blackfoot also 6-2. So Bonneville can create some chaos and defeat Hillcrest. It's going to be fascinating to see how they break up that tie. But yeah, Hillcrest peak at the right time. And I think they also had some injuries from football, just some guys banged up from football that were coming out to play basketball. So it probably took them some time to start gelling, not only with their new coach, but with their team, coming off a championship run. So with that, let's go to Century Highland. Massive game, crazy ending. Okay, when I say massive game, meaning it was a crazy ending, but in terms of how it ended, what a massive game. Break that one down for us, Sean.
Yeah, so Friday night, Century goes up to Highland to play, and in their little gym, they're using their little gym as the other one is being renovated. So I don't know if you've ever been in it. It's not very big, but it is just packed to the brim, right? You have a city rivalry game going on, and anyways, it's kind of a back and forth game. Highland pretty much in control. Century makes some runs, but going into the fourth quarter, Century is down by 11. And going into the fourth quarter, Adrian Gonzalez, probably the team's leading scorer, fouls out. Not available in the fourth quarter. Deacon Crabtree has 10 points, hits a couple big shots in that fourth quarter, hits a 3 out of nowhere, and they get back in it. And then, Glenn hits a layup and fouled, goes to the line, makes it, puts Highland up by 1. Century has one less chance. Deacon Crabtree goes baseline right side, goes up, loses the ball, maybe blocked, maybe fouled. Refs aren't calling it at the end of the game. No. The ball trickles into Jordan Wilkerson's hands. He doesn't even jump. He just puts it up. They win at the buzzer. There's like 2 seconds to try to call a timeout, but the time expired. And Century steals a win from Highland. And if you go back and it's all over social media, the end of the game. But yeah, the Highland played phenomenal defense on Deacon Crabtree. And then when he missed, everyone kind of just stood there. No one rebounded the ball. No one boxed out. And, Jordan was able just to put the shot in, just clear and free right on the left block, right below the hoop. And it's kind of unbelievable that, no one from Highland rebounded or boxed out Jordan. He's not hard to miss. He's out there. Yeah. He's a big dude. But it was just an incredible game. It was just a really just high action, high paced game, really fun game. Both teams will have a very difficult time making to state. So games like this during the season are really memorable for the teams.
To your point, for those who don't know, Hillcrest Highland is they're in fourth right now, just above Canyon Ridge, who hasn't won a conference game. Highland only has 2 wins under the belt in conference, only 5 wins under the belt in non-conference. So yeah, they're struggling. Century obviously struggling, having to play in that Preston and Pocatello. Pocatello has had some success, but really it's Preston is the favorite in that 5A Southeast Idaho Conference. But yeah, to your point, both teams struggling. So you get a win like this, it could be huge for your confidence. And moving forward, as they have just a few weeks left of the regular season, maybe you get some momentum and you start peaking at the right time.
Yeah, and it's much bigger for Century than it is Highland because Century is going to play Pocatello this Friday. So, it's a huge game as far as just getting a win going into district play to play them again. But on that crappy three-team bracket, but momentum, things like that, just to get on the right track will be good. I'll be at that game Friday night at Century, Pocatello versus Century. It'll be packed. It'll be a lot of fun. The atmosphere is always really great for those games. And Century lost to Pocatello at the pit earlier in the year, so they definitely would like to get a win. They do play Skyline one more home game for their senior night, but just to get one win in conference, it's not really going to change the bracket
right
at this point. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
But this is their chance. You play Pocatello, who's not who they were last year. Although again, Pocatello has been improving throughout the season. And let's say you beat Pocatello, you beat Skyline, you beat Bonneville. Although Bonneville is good, and I think they're second, if not third, right? They're pushing, like we talked, they're pushing Hillcrest right now. But if Century can go on a little streak here to end the season, that's going to mean a lot. Again, Preston, maybe they're probably too much for Century and Pocatello, but you go on a little streak to end the season. You never know what that may come out of that. So definitely looking forward to seeing how Century finishes this one. Sean, so you already mentioned where you're going to be this Friday night, Century versus Pokey. Hopefully I will be at least one district tournament game. We have tons of games this week, starting tonight and throughout the weekend. So I'm hoping to catch one, but you and I are both off. We don't have anything broadcast right now, at least to do this weekend. Or this weekend. So yeah, enjoy the games, Sean.
Yeah, start prepping for state, Joel.
Yeah, definitely.
Get on it.
I do have a feeling a few of those 2A teams. I'll be doing 2A at state, and Sean, you'll be doing 6A, right? So there probably are a few teams that we know. Okay, these people are probably, this team is probably getting there, but just don't mention it to anyone, or it'll become a broadcaster curse, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if there's so many bids, you can make some assumptions about some teams, and I feel pretty strongly Hawaii will make it to state. Hawaii girls. I feel like they're going to make it. Bold statement. You heard it here. There was no Treasure Valley Prepcast, but I'm telling you right now, Hawaii makes it.
Yeah. Well, before we get out of here, just want to remind everyone one more time, hit that like and subscribe button so you know when we drop each and every week. Don't forget to comment. We usually try to respond to your comments, even if you comment after the show has closed and is no longer live. But reach out, hit us up. I'm at E1 Educador, and Sean is at SK182. Those are on X/Twitter. And let us know what you got in terms of your takes. If you want a player or a coach to hop on, or both at the same time, we'd love to have you and interview you and highlight and celebrate your team. But reach out to us and let's make something happen and get you on the show or get your comment. And don't forget also, this is brought to you by Ideal, which is a state-sponsored tax-managed savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. With the rising cost of college, developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping families finance a college education. An Ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school, apprenticeship, or even student loan repayments. For more information, go to idsavings.org. Start your Ideal 529 plan today. That's Sean Kane. I'm Joel Richardson saying be excellent to each other. Enjoy all the tournament games for girls basketball. Enjoy the last few games for boys basketball in the regular season. And we'll catch you hopefully next week, probably next Monday, to break down more of these brackets, some of the results on the East Idaho Prepcast, IdahoSports.com. Thanks for being with us. Have a good one, everybody.